Hello everyone and welcome back to Python for Beginners here, and today we are going to learn for loops in Python. In my previous video we learned while loops and nested while loops in Python, but today we are moving forward and we are learning for loops in Python. So a for loop is simply used to execute a block of code for a specific number of times. Even though both of them are loops here, for loop and a while loop, but they all have different syntaxes here. So I'll type my for loop syntax and explain what this syntax means. So I'll type my for here. I'll type my variable here in my iterable here. So when I hit enter, you see Python automatically indents this cursor for us, meaning all the codes are going to write inside this indentation block will belong to this for loop here. So this for is the keyword that tells Python that we are going to loop. And this variable is called the loop variable. So it's a temporary container that holds item inside this iterable for each iteration here. And so this in tells us that we are going to loop through this iterable here. And an iterable in Python is simply anything that Python can go through one item at a time. So a string can be an iterable, a tuple, a list. But since we haven't learned built-in data structures, I'm not going to go deeper into tuples and the rest. I'm just going to stick with strings and lists here. So should in case I convert this into a string here, we can loop through this iterable and print each item inside it. So if I print variable here, let us see what we are going to get here. So we get this iterable here. So Python loops through this iterable here, this string here, and prints each item for every iteration. So the first iteration, this variable container will hold I here, and it will print I. On the second iteration, it will hold T, and it will print T down to E here. So this is basically the syntax for loop here. Okay, so that was the syntax for writing a for loop here. So we can use a for loop to solve this problem here. So let's say I have this list of names here, and a list is an iterable that Python can actually go through. So a list is simply a collection of items here. So to create a list, you just need to type your square brackets here, and you need to supply your items inside separated by commas, right? So we're going to use a for loop to find the name with the longest character here, which in this case is Godman here. So the first thing that I'm going to need is a longest character variable here. So I'm going to create a longest character variable here. And at the beginning, I'm going to set this to names of index 0 here. So at the beginning, my longest character here is Mike, right? Because index 0 is Mike here, index 1 is Paki. I taught this in my previous videos. So if you don't understand indexing, you need to go back and watch those videos too. So I'm going to use a for loop to loop through these names and find the overall name that is the longest character here. So I'm going to say for name in names, if len, the len function is going to help us to calculate or to find the total number of characters inside the strings here. So if len of name, if the len of each name is greater than the len of longest character that we have, then we are going to reset the longest character to that name. So we're going to say longest character is equal to name here, and at the end of the day we are going to print that name, that longest character here. Now let's run this program and let's see what you're going to get here. So we get Godman here. Good. So you see I indented this print statement here. I indented it with this for loop here. So this is done when you want an overall item here. So let's say you are adding something and you want the overall total. You have to indent the your print statement here, right? You have to indent it here. This will give you the overall item, the overall longest character item. But if I should indent this print statement here, then I'm telling Python that for each iteration, bring me the longest character. This is what this means. So when I run this program, you're going to see that the output is also different, because on the first iteration, Mike is the longest character, so it prints Mike. But when it moves on, it sees Paki, the length of Paki is greater than Mike, so it will print Paki. It will print Paki again, it will print Paki again. But when it gets to Godman, Godman's length is greater than Paki, so it will print Godman. And when you get to Amanda, Godman's length is greater than Amanda's own, so it will print Godman again. So this is how to use this indentation here. Even when I indent it inside this if block here, is also going to give me a different result here. So now let's run this program and let's see what we're going to get. Yes, we get Paki and Godman here because of this condition here. So if length of name is greater than length of longest character. So at the beginning, Mike is the longest character. So when you move here, Paki is greater than Mike, so it will print Paki here. And Paki is still great. Paki is still the greatest one. And when you get to Godman, Godman is greater than Paki, so it will print Godman. And then when you get to Amanda, Godman is still the greatest. So this is how to use this indentation. So this indentation matters a lot. But in this case, you just need one name here. You just need the overall longest character name here. So I'm going to indent it here and print and run this again. So I'm going to get Godman here. So this is a simple example that we can use to explain for loops here. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to learn today is the range function here. So the range function is a very important part in Python that we need to learn. So the range function selects a range of numbers for you, right? So let's say you want a range of numbers from, let's say, 0 to 10 here. Python range function can do it for you. So let's say we have 4 number in range, let's say 10 here. Right, and now let's print this number here. Let's print this number here. And let's see what you're going to get. So we get numbers starting from 0 to 9 here. So the range function is going to give you 10 numbers here, but starting from 0 here. So this 10 will not be included. So just like in indexing, the first item will always be 0 here. So Python uses the same logic here. So it starts from 0 and down to the number just before this 10 here. But this range function can also take another argument here. It can take a start value here. So I can set a start value of, let's say, 1 here. I give my comma here. Now let's run this program and let's see. Sorry. So now we get numbers from 1 down to 9 here, right? Because this start value tells Python that, okay, don't start from 0, start from 1 here. Because if you don't give it a start value, it will automatically start from 0 here. So this is how we write this range function here. But it can also take another argument here called the step here. So let me say a step of, let's say, 2 here. And this step will determine how we move across this range function here. So now let me run this program and let's see. So we get odd numbers here, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 here. So at the beginning, it starts from 1 here, it moves to 2 steps to 3, then to 5, 7, and 9 here. So this is how we use the range function here. So we can actually also do this here. Let's say we want to start at 10 here, we want to end at 0 here, but we are moving at a step of, let's say, negative 1 here. Now let's run this program and let's see what you're going to get. Okay, so I'm going to get starting from 10 down to 1 here, right? We are not going to get to 0 here, right? We are going to get from 10 down to this 9 here, to this 1 here. So this is how we use our range function in Python. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to learn today is flow control statements in Python. So the 3 control statements that we are going to learn is break, continue, and pass. So we saw break when we are learning while loops here, so I'm not going to waste time on breaks here, but I'm going to start from breaks do. So let's say I have this syntax here. Let's say for I in range of, let's say, a start value of, let's say, 1 and a stop of, let's say, 10 here. I'm going to set a condition here that if I is equal to 7 here, we are going to break this loop. Other than that, we are going to print I. Let's run this program here. So we get numbers from 1 to 6, but we don't see 7 here. So whenever this loop sees that I is equal to 7, this loop is going to end. It's going to break. So break is used to exit a loop once and for all. So the next control statement we're going to learn is continue. So another condition here, let's say otherwise if I is equal to 4 here, let's continue. let's run this program and let's see what we're going to get. So we get 1, 2, 3. We don't see 4 here. So continue is used to skip an iteration, right? Continue is not used to break a loop, or it's not used to stop a loop. It's used to skip an iteration. So whenever we see that I is equal to 4, we just continue. We don't print I here. So that is the basis of continue. That is what we use continue to do as a whole. So the next thing that we're going to learn is the pass here. So I can say otherwise if I is equal to 6. Let's pass. Let's run this program and let's see what you're going to get. So we get 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, just like how we got here. So this tells us that pass does nothing to our code here. So pass is a placeholder in Python that does nothing. So pass is like an invincible material here. It does nothing to our code. It doesn't skip iterations. It doesn't break loops here. So many people confuse themselves with continue and pass. They think because of the name pass, you are going to pass an iteration, but actually pass does nothing here. So let's say I have this syntax. Let's say I have another condition. Let's say else here. Let me indent this print statement inside this else block. Let me run this. We don't see 6 here. So many people believe that our pass is also used to skip iterations here. But the only reason why we are not seeing this 6 is because of where this print statement is. So this print statement is inside this else block here. So whenever we see that all these conditions are false here, we are going to print I. But in this case, you see this pass is inside the condition here. So when this condition is false, we don't do anything. When I is equal to 6, we don't do anything. So this is what we use our pass for. So pass is just a placeholder in Python that does nothing. For example, let's say I have this here. Let's say for I in the range, let's say I type pass here. After that, let me type, let's say print I here. Now let's run this program and let's see what we are going to get. So we get numbers from 1 to 9. We don't do anything. Nothing happens, right? We don't skip anything. We don't break the loop. So pass does nothing. So this is simply just equal to this. Let me run this program once more. So you see the same results here. So pass is a placeholder in Python that does nothing in Python. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to learn is nested for loops in Python. So a nested loop is simply a loop inside another loop here. So let's say I have this for loop here. Let's say for I in, let's say, range of 3 here. And for j in, let's say, range of 3 here, the same 3 here. So I'm going to print a list of points here. I'm going to use a formatted string to do that. Let's say I type I here, and then I type j here. So Python uses this logic here. So this is what we call the outer loop here, and this is what we call the inner loop here. This one is called the inner loop here. So for each iteration of this outer loop here, the inner loop will run from start to finish. The inner loop will execute all its iteration from start to finish here. So let me run this program and let's see what we're going to get here. Okay, so we get this list of points here, right? So for Python interpreter executes code line by line from top to down here. So on the first iteration for I here, the I is 0 here, so it comes down here, and j is also 0 for the first iteration, so it will print 0 and 0. So after that, we come back to this inner for loop here. We don't go to this outer for loop here, because for each iteration of this outer for loop here, the inner for loop must run from start to finish. So I is still 0, but we are moving to 1. So we get 0 and 1. And I is still 0 here, so we go to 0 and 2 until this inner for loop here executes completely here. That is when we go back to this outer for loop here. So now we go back to this outer for loop, and we are moving to 1 here. So we get 1 and 0. This whole process will restart again. So we get 1 here. We come back down here. Sorry for that. Oh, sorry. We said that this range function initially is 0. So we get 1 and 0, 1 and 1, 1 and 2. You see 1 and 2. So we go back to 2, and you get 2 and 0, 2, 1 and 2, 2, and the program is going to end here. So this is how we use nested for loops in Python. So we can actually use this to solve a little exercise here. We can actually use this to design a simple multiplication table, but you can add a certain keyword argument here. Let's say I add this keyword argument and is equal to, and I'll set this to an empty string. So this will ensure that for each iteration, all the values will be printed on the same line here. So now let me run this program and let's see. Okay, so we get 0, 0. We get the first iteration printed on the same line. This also is printed on the same line too, and this on the same line too. But let's say we want to get spaces in between these iterations, each iteration, we can add this here. Let's say we indent our cursor here, and I'm going to add this print empty space here. So this print empty space will leave, will send the next iteration to the next line here, right? So for each iteration of this inner while loop here, we print this empty space and we go back to this for loop here and repeat the same process again. Let me run this and let's see what we're going to get. Okay, so now we see 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2. So this print statement will send this the next iteration, which is 1 here for this I here, to the next line, and 2 also to the next line. So that is how we use this n here. So this is a keyword argument here, and we are going to learn this when you get to functions more. And so this is how to use this n here and this print empty space here. Okay, so we can use this nested for loop to design a simple multiplication table. So let's say I have this here. Let's say I have, let's say we want to design a multiplication table from numbers ranging from 1 to, no, let's say 2 to, let's say 5 here. So I'll make it 6 so that we get 5 here. And I can also say we are going to range from, the inner loop is also going to range from 1 to, let's say, 13 here. So we are going to get 2 times down to 13 here. So we are going to, let me clear this here. Let me clear this. And let me write, okay, let me write I. For each iteration, I multiplied by, let's say, j here. And this should be equal to I multiplied by j. That's it. And that's it. I think that's it. Okay, so now let me run this program here. We don't need this end here. Let me add this end here and let's see what you're going to get. We don't need this end here. Let me run this program and let's see. Okay, so this one is very, very messy here because of this end here, because this is letting all the iterations print on the same line here. So we are going to clear this end here. We don't need this. Let me run this program once more and let's see what we are going to get. Okay, so now we see a better multiplication table here. So it starts from 2, 1. So you get 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 4, 2, 3, 6, 2, 4, 8. So this is a multiplication table for 2 here. We see sum for 3 here. We see sum for 4 here. Sum for 5 here, and that is it. The program ends. So for each iteration of this outer for loop, the inner for loop will run from start to finish. So for the first iteration, I is 2. So I will become 2 times 1 here, that is j here. So we get 2 here, and we are still inside this inner loop here. This inner loop will move to 2. So we are going to get 2 times 2, right? So whenever this iteration finishes, then we are going to start here. But now we are going to move to 3 for the outer while loop here. Sorry, for the outer for loop here. So this is how to use nested for loops in Python. And thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you and bye.